Hey guys, Bree here from Mission Walk Crochet, and I want to talk about my personal opinion of how many WIPs you should have at a time. Last week's video, I talked a little bit about how I want to get into making crochet art, and all I had to do was finish up like the letters on the water tower I was working on. If you didn't see that, I talk about it in last week's video, and I show you a picture of it. So if you're interested in that, check on last week's video. This is my conversation I'd like to have with you today about how many WIPs you should have at a time. Now, last week I talked about the water tower I was working on and all I have to do to finish it, because I'm not weaving in the ends because it's supposed to be like an art piece. And I like the way that all the little ends hang down. All I have to do to finish it is to sew on the letters that on the water tower, which really is not that big of a thing. I hate the sewing part. I hate the weaving in part. It's like going to be the absolute hardest part of that entire project. And I told you, I was going to go work on it. I was going to get it done. Did I? No, I didn't. Let me be honest. I didn't do it. I thought, well, I'm just going to bounce over and work on something else for a minute. And then I kind of started reading up on yarn bombing, which I just ordered a book on because I'm like, I want to try that. Because I have a fence in my backyard, and I thought that'd be kind of cool if I could yarn bomb my fence, or if I could do some yarn bombing around town. So my town has a lot of like huge like painted murals on the side of buildings and stuff. So I think that even though technically yarn bombing, from what I understand, is technically illegal, I think it would be acceptable to, like, in my town, like, I think that people would think it's cool, because it seems like the downtown area here is like full of these beautiful like painted murals. And I mean, it's one of those things where if somebody doesn't like it, cut it down, and throw it away. I mean, I wouldn't want them to throw it away. I would hope that maybe they would cut it down and want to keep it because they think it's pretty. But I mean, honestly, if somebody didn't like it, they could cut it down and toss it. But I digress on that. All of these thoughts about wanting to get into yarn bombing and needing to finish the letters on my art project. And then I have a sweater I started that I just like, it's worked from like the back. It's like worked up the back, then you like add on the arms, and then you like you finish that part off, then you work the front panel, like two front panels separately, and then you sew it all together. So it's all worked in like kind of like one piece that you'd sew together. So I got to the point where I'm up the back and I got to like where the arms start. So, I had to chain out, add the arms in. And so I'm really not that far into that. I mean, I'm less than halfway. And I was really hoping to finish that and be able to wear it at least a couple times before the weather really warmed up. I mean, here we are, it's February, and it feels like spring. Now, I will say in the weather forecast this week for my area, they are saying that we're going to get some snow, but I mean, it's like 1.5 inches. That's really still not that much. But I've got, that puts me in a position where I've got the, I want to start the yarn bonding project, which I kind of started one because I crocheted these giant eyeballs with glow-in-the-dark paint, so that I thought would be fun to put so it looks like spooky eyes on my fence. So I started that. I have to finish my water tower still. I'm sorry, I'm looking around my room because at my projects. I have my sweater I need to finish, and then I want to take on a different kind of yarn bombing projects. That's an awful lot for my brain. Like, I like to hyper focus in on the one thing that I need to get done, and I do one thing at a time. But right now I've got like at least 4 things, and then I've got a bunch of other ideas in my head too about making maybe a bucket hat and, like some spring items. And I frankly am overwhelming myself. So I just kind of want to talk about, maybe it's a hot take about how many projects that you should have going at a time. Really, honestly, I'm not going to tell you how to do your projects. What I am going to share with you is my personal feelings on everything. And I'm not a multitasker. I am a one at a time, one trick pony. I like crochet. I will expand upon crochet, but I don't think I'll ever get deep into like knitting or, even though I find needle felting amazing. I actually went to an art gallery thing over the weekend, and beautiful pieces. There was one that was like a fairy, and it had these little tiny mushrooms, very cool. And have seen like one of my friends on Facebook, like they had gone to a class, and I find that all so beautiful. But I love crochet and I want to master crochet. Now, can you ever really master crochet? I don't know if you can really become a crochet master because there's always something new to learn. Like, I don't know how anybody could learn every single thing there is to know about crochet, but I'd like to get as close as I can to that. And I figure I didn't start until like I was in my 30s. So, I mean, I got a lot of catching up to do. There's people who have been crocheting since they were like, just tiny little children. So I have so much catching up to do, and I just love crochet, and that's what, I intend on sticking with. Will I ever try some of those things? Maybe. I can't see myself being as passionate about anything else as I am about crochet, and my love for crochet is just huge. So, I mean, I want to make all the things, but I am stressing myself out with having so many things going at once. So right now, my focus is finishing. Like, I want to finish my sweater, which is going to take a while. I need to sew the letters on I'm pointing over here like you're going to look over there and see it. I don't know why I'm doing that. Just go with it. But I need to finish the letters on my water tower. I mean, I know what it's going to look like. I know the positioning of the letters. It's just a matter of sitting down and sewing them. And the idea too, I don't have to weave in any ends. You would think I wouldn't have such a roadblock in my brain about getting it done, but needs to be done. So right now, for me, I find it very stressful having so many like projects and ideas going, and I need to start working through them one at a time and just get through them. I'm curious that if you're watching this video, how do you feel about doing multiple projects at once? Do you find it overwhelming to have a lot of projects? Are you one at a time person like me? I personally just wanted to share like kind of where my mindset is with doing multiple projects at once. Now, I can understand the beauty of having multiple things at once if they're different kinds of things with different kind of stitch patterns, because it keeps your brain mentally stimulated and you don't get bored. But for me, I find all that stimulation overwhelming. So I need to go back to just doing one project at a time. Sometimes I'll do a mini project. Like if I'm working on a big sweater, every once in a while I'll pause on that. I'll hit the pause on that sweater. And for pause on a project for me, it means I'm not thinking about it. It doesn't exist. Like my focus goes over here into this little project that I make. And then when I'm done, I take this off pause and my head goes totally back over here. But having so many things going, like a possibility of 4+ things, it's too much. I don't have that many pause buttons. I can pause on like one huge thing, take a little break because maybe I'm getting bored with that, and so I'll do like a little project, like maybe I'll do like a washcloth or one of those like little positive potatoes or something, like something little that, I could knock on a day just to give my brain like a break from that project for like a day. But I'm not going to take on a sweater, a blanket, like a bunch of big projects at the same time. It's too much for me. I want to know how your brain works. Are you somebody who likes to take on one project at a time, all your focus goes on that project, or do you like a bunch of little projects and you always have a bunch of WIPs and you rotate things out? I'm curious because I feel like in the crochet community, most people I see always have a lot of projects going, and my brain just doesn't work that way. I want to hyper focus on the one thing, and I want to see that to completion before I move on to something else. So I feel like that might be a little bit of a hot take. I feel like most people are multitaskers. It's not for me. It's not for me. I've been trying it for this past week. It's a no-go. So this week I'm going to work on finishing things, and so that I can go back to just focusing on one project at a time. So make sure you tell me though how your brain works, and are you a multitasker or are you a one project at a time kind of person? Until next week, take care.